Hopefully I didn't undermine myself there. It was such an articulate defense of why Barack Obama has the vision of America that we all need to grasp from Hollywood activist Ashley Judd I just played. I hope it didn't backfire. I hope I didn't sway too many people to go to the other side. It was that compelling. Welcome back to the Peter Hagg Radio Show. Another hour to go on Mailbag Friday. We enjoy every couple weeks talking to rising Republican conservative star. And I don't just mean that in the state of Indiana, somebody who's already got a reputation around the country of being a solid conservative and somebody a lot of folks in the conservative movement just can't wait until she gets to Washington, D.C. Always a pleasure to speak to her, and Jackie Walorski joins us again. Jackie, thanks very much for making time for us.
Oh, Peter, it's always good. It's an honor to speak to you, and I'm glad to hear your voice today. There's lots of things to talk about, huh? There's never a dull moment in this world of politics.
That's just it. Somebody sent an email and said, well, at least you'll have a lull after the primary ends before the general election kicks up. It's not even close. Not even close.
No.
Talk to us about what's going on up in your district, the University of Notre Dame, the lawsuit on the contraceptive mandate of Barack Obama.
Well, I think it's no great surprise that the Catholic Church is leading the way around the country in objecting to the mandate, objecting to being forced to be a part of something that they morally object to, and it's obviously a massive infringement on religious rights in this country. So, I absolutely stand where the University of Notre Dame stands on this issue, and I think that it's a massive infringement, and it's not just on the Catholic Church. It's just on it's on lots of different groups, lots of different religions, but, I applaud those who are standing up and taking on this issue because, these are some of the historic markers that we have in our country when things get to the point where they get so far to the left. And we always talk about how, we believe the American people will bring balance back into the country. And this is one of these issues where people are standing together. Churches are standing together, ministers and priests and denominations are standing together and basically saying to this administration, you can't do this, and we're telling you no. So I look for good things to happen. I think that, I'll be really surprised if the Obama administration doesn't come up with some kind of compromise or taking a couple steps backwards here for their own sake and for the sake of the country. The country is not obviously in agreement to what they're doing with religious liberty.
Were you surprised that Notre Dame did this? I mean, this is the university that invited Barack Obama, knowing full well his position on the issue of life and a number of other issues, invited him to come to the commencement. And, historically, when you look at demographics, the Catholic vote goes towards Democrats. Or is this exactly what you're saying, that this was just a bridge too far? What we've seen from the Pelosi-Obama movement, it's just misreading the election of 2008, assuming the country wanted this radical leftism. It was just a misreading. Is that what's going on here? How were you surprised by Notre Dame's action?
Well, I think that, there was such a significant strategic, perfectly timed announcement where I believe it was 43 large institutions across the country came out on one day to say they're standing in solidarity. And no, I'm not necessarily surprised. I mean, these are people that are rooted and grounded in a mission. And, in our area here in northern Indiana, I think that, we've heard a lot about, that the Democrats are taking their liberal agenda too far. And so I think that, when you see people standing together because they believe that their own party's gone too far, I don't think that's anymore. That seems to be almost a common occurrence, Peter, that the Democrats that are moderates and the conservative Democrats, and there's thousands and tens and thousands of them, I think are wondering what's happening to their party because I think it's just another symptom that the Democratic Party of today is not representing a lot of the Democrats that have traditionally been involved in it, and they're not comfortable either. So I think that's why, when you look at our race and the people that we've attracted to our race, the Republicans, Democrats, and Independents, and the Democrat Independent side goes up every week. because they don't recognize, and I don't think they want to be connected with how far liberal this is going.
Well, and
and it's kind of interesting, how, obviously our opponent and Democrats around the country, they poke fun at the Tea Party, they laugh at them, they ridicule them, they call them extreme. That seems to be this, where we're headed into this late spring, early summer. They call everybody extreme. And then look what their own party is doing.
Right. And
I'd be the first to say that agenda is extreme. That's not where mainstream America is.
Yeah. Do you think that you benefit, and that's an odd thing to say, because obviously the attitude of country first says if Barack Obama is leading the country in the direction that he's leading it, nobody's benefiting. So that comes first. But secondary, from a political standpoint, as you look at the conservative movement going into this 2012 election, do you think that there is some benefit? I'm looking at Ed Rendell, former DNC chair. We've got particular congressmen who are in tough races who aren't coming out and saying that they're going to even endorse the president. I go back to 2008, and you almost had Republicans that felt like they needed to endorse Obama because he was so popular, and now members of his own party don't even want to acknowledge that. Is this tide that was there in 2010 every bit as strong in 2012? Are you feeling that momentum still there?
Well, yeah, I think there's momentum there, but I think don't forget, as you and I and all of us that, live on Main Street America here, as we live the lives that we live, don't forget, at the 35,000-foot level where, a lot of this politics and stuff is negotiated, and that's obviously the level that the president is looking at, and the leaders of Congress are looking at, that really high airplane level looking down. They play games with this stuff like they play a deck of cards. They play games with these issues to move and to leverage people. They look at this stuff, and we take it really seriously, and there's a lot of game playing based upon dates, based upon fundraisers for the president. They dangle this stuff out. They distract you from other issues, and I don't think there's as much up and down belief on some of these issues that are coming out of the White House as there is playing into their hand. And that's why, people think that I'm very sarcastic and stuff about government, and I am, because it's not just about the straight up and down issue of gay marriage. It's not just about the straight up and down issue of not having a budget voted on in the Senate for more than 1,000 days, 1,200 days. It's not just about those. It's when they drop these issues. It's how they spin these issues. And it's what they do from a grand scheme. And a lot of this is scheming on the parts of these parties. And, we hear about it when they release it. We talk about it when they want us to. But, my hope is, Peter, is that the American public is so well educated, this electorate, that they come to the table and they are not moved or swayed, and they realize that the heart and soul of what's happening here is we have a big government that's out of touch, that is not going along with mainstream America, and those are the issues that we have to be sure that we are solid on and we don't get distracted from.
One of the things that I know you've talked a lot about over the last couple of years has been getting our spending under control, the out-of-control spending of Washington, D.C. What do you make of, I saw a news report from ABC, Barack Obama at a campaign re-election fundraiser, and making the statement that he is, and I'm just going to quote, "I am not an overspender." What do you make of it when the president says that? Is that not just...
It's just simply not true.
Right.
And that's what I mean about releasing issues and then having them surrounded by nothing but spin, so that on a particular day, our country will be sitting around talking about something that's not true. And, I saw the statistic this morning that maybe on today's day, what the government is spending on this particular day may be one figure, but cumulatively speaking, since this budget has been on his watch, on the president's watch, this is the most out-of-control spending our nation has ever been in, even compared to George Bush. So, the spin factor, and this issue of dangling information in front of voters and having them talk about things on a certain day and to get them distracted from the issues of the day, which is the economy that's sliding out of control, is baffling. And I think it just shortchanges Americans. That they play politics with every one of these issues, including the fact that this is the most expensive spending president in our lifetime.
One of the dangers, though, and maybe I'm wrong, but it seems like one of the dangers of attempting this game of distraction is you're going to be so desperate to find something to distract the electorate that eventually you're going to throw something out there that bites your hand back. It's going to backfire on you. Do you think that that's happened with, you add together the gay marriage thing and the contraceptive mandate, what that is saying to religious voters, and there's a lot of those people, those two issues are going to motivate them, and even though you're trying to distract the electorate, you put together this cocktail that's going to end up being a huge backfire in your face. Is that not a risk that the Democrats are running right now?
I think it is, but I guess, I'm even more shocked, Peter, as the weeks go on here, that they keep playing these really liberal agenda cards. They're just playing them one after another. I mean, they're playing the card that, we're not in that we don't have a spending president. They're playing the card that the unemployment rate isn't that bad. They're playing the card that moral issues and social issues don't matter. They're playing all these, because they're playing the card, $20 million of tax money to go out there and try to explain why Obamacare is a benefit when the CBO says we're not even going to be able to afford to touch it. They're playing these cards that are so out there, even from their own party. That's what surprises me. I don't know what base that they're appealing to right now, but it certainly isn't the majority of the American public. And when you drop the political labels, they're losing the majority of the American public.
When you see these attacks that are taking place, and I find it interesting to watch some of the Democrats. We had Cory Booker and some of these others. Clyburn goes the other direction, and there's almost as though a split within the Democrat Party over Barack Obama's attack on Bain Capital and some of these things. And I've appreciated Mitt Romney's response that he's given, where he said, "Look, it was a company, and as a company, you take risks, and it's a venture, and you want everything to be a success."
Correct.
But the reality is it's not. And so to attack that for the failures, is that not attacking free enterprise itself?
Well, it really is. But see, I'm very optimistic about the fact of it was Mayor Booker, correct? It was Mayor Booker that came out last week. And I was very optimistic to hear him just basically say, his summary was kind of, I think, where most of the American public is, which is like, will you just stop it? Will you just stop, slamming and trashing capitalism, and don't go there for the sake of this election? And, just to have one person stand up, look what a difference that one voice made in this country this week, and how much attention was brought to the fact that, people are tired of this country being denigrated, tired of being the criminal if you're making money, and tired of all the claims and the falsities that have come from Washington. People of all persuasions want this country to grow and want this country to be successful. And I think when you hear the kind of just absolute exasperation on the side of Mayor Booker, I think it resonated with so many people, because that's where most Americans are. They're tired of hearing it. They want this country back on track.
Jackie, I had a question that came in actually from a lady who is in your district. Said next time you talk to Jackie Walorski, please ask her how she possibly maintains the enthusiasm on a day-in, day-out basis for 2 years and staying on top of these issues. And she meant it in a very complimentary way. But how do you do that? How do you stay engaged in this for 2 years and stay on top of everything that's coming out of Washington and is going on in your district? How is that possible? How do you do it?
Well, I'm really encouraged by the people we have around us. And, she's probably one of our volunteers, or she's probably somebody that, we've been involved with. And I really get my energy from those people. We have 2 parades back-to-back on Monday, Memorial Day. And, I get all recharged when I'm around these volunteers, because it's their seat. They live in this district, and somebody needs to give them their seat back, because these seats don't belong to individual people, and they don't belong to these parties. They belong to the people. And I've established for more than 2 years that, this election is not about me. It's about giving the seat back to these people. And I really believe that. And I really believe the call to every American, in our country right now, the call to America is to fight for this nation and to undergird this republic and to make sure that we have a more promising future. And there are so very few people on the front line right now that are willing to run for these seats because of how absolute dirty it is in politics. It's dirty. You're surrounded by lies. You got to raise money just to protect yourself. But I think that we have to be on the front line. We may be the last one swinging, but we'll be swinging until we get this thing back and get this seat back in their hands.
Do you feel confident about where you are in your race in your district?
I do. We feel very confident about it. We don't take anything for granted. And some people I know, they shake their head and they look at us and they think, why are you working like there's no tomorrow? And again, I don't take anything for granted. I don't trust the final factor on votes until the last one's in, the last one is read, and there's 100% reporting. You just never know. We've seen too many shenanigans, and we're fighting to make sure that we put this thing over the top and these people win.
I know a lot of people in this area where we broadcast from who aren't in your district still want to keep in touch and know what's going on. The folks who are in your district, I always want to make sure that we mention the website Stand With Jackie is the best way to contact you to get engaged with your campaign.
You know what? We are, Peter, and I appreciate it. It's www.standwithjackie.com, and it's Stand With Jackie, Jeckie, my name. And, if they would go there, we have about 35 days till the end of June. And we have another huge fundraising report due, so every dollar helps. If people can get online and give, every dollar accumulates, and we will hit our $1 million mark as far as amount raised, I think, at the end of June here. But it started with $1, and it's going to end with $1. So every one of those in between helps us hit our goal.
Yeah. MSNBC following you around this time?
Oh, not yet, but
okay.
I just got a note that we're going to be doing some stuff with CNN and next week in Washington, so boy, won't that be interesting.
Yeah, yes, indeed. Well, you know what they say. They say, of course, CNN's the one that's the middle of the road, the moderate folks. You got Fox on the right and MSNBC. I was unaware just by watching their programming, but apparently they're middle of the road, so that's...
Well, there you go.
Good.
Well, I'll be happy to report to you next time we speak about what the experience was like.
We will look forward to that very much. Jackie, appreciate your time. You take care. Have a good weekend.
Listen, happy Memorial Day to all your listeners as well. Celebrate this country.
Absolutely. Jackie Walorski here on the Peter Haig Radio Show with us, Indiana's 2nd Congressional District candidate, and always an enjoyable interview. No question about it. I am looking at this this statement of Barack Obama that I was asking her about. Here's the quote. "I'm running to pay down our debt in a way that's balanced and responsible. After inheriting a $1 trillion deficit," he can't go 2 minutes without mentioning what he inherited. Don't forget Bush sucked. He was worse. After inheriting a $1 trillion deficit, I signed a $2 trillion spending cut into law. My opponent won't admit it, but it's starting to appear in places, like real liberal outlets like the Wall Street Journal. Since I've been president, federal spending has risen at the lowest pace in 60 years. Think about that. I mean, the whole thing, that was sarcasm he was giving, by the way, when he said Wall Street Journal was a real liberal outlet. But this whole thing that I'm looking at, this idea that he is not an overspender. We're funding cowboy poetry festivals. He's not an overspender. It's just it's mind-boggling, and that's actually what I meant in asking the question of Jackie Walorski. How do you respond to that? It is so absurd. It is so patently false. Anybody with a brain knows that's not true. So how do you really react to it? It's like somebody who militantly tells you that 2 + 2 is 1. Now, how do you, other than just saying, no, it's not. And everybody knows that it's not. I don't know what the magic potion is. I don't know what the magic formula is, but good grief. Okay, I want to get back to this Mailbag Friday stuff because that's what today is. And I took in an email this week that kind of encapsulates. I haven't spoken about this Elizabeth Warren situation out of the Ivy League. You know, the white lady that said she was an Indian. She says she was a Native American. This Elizabeth Warren story, I haven't really talked about it because, to be honest, though humorous, it really hasn't been that interesting to me. But at the same time, I think that there is a greater point to be drawn out of all of this. If this was just about one random liberal woman who wanted a job, so she told everybody she was a Native American so that she could get that job through the liberal affirmative action programs. If it was just about one woman and her resume enhancement, I wouldn't take the time to mention it. But I think it's more than that. I think it once again is a clear indication of the two different directions that we can take the country. The one offered by the right, which I would recommend, the one offered by the left, where you got white people pretending they're Iroquois.
Looking for a relaxing place to get away and enjoy an evening?